Ahoy Rovers! Well, this is going to be a pretty interesting episode because I'm going to put fiberglass over the bottom of the boat, on the inside of course. Now, this is an extra step, but it's an extra step that I think important because I think if you don't do this, you're going to end up with a boat that's going to fail or rot out under your feet much faster than if you didn't. Let me explain why. My name's Alan Mulholland, and I'm a solo sailor. This is the story of how I built the Wave Rover 650. 3 years ago, I refitted a 40-year-old Contessa 26 and took her on an amazing 7,800 nautical mile ocean voyage. We crossed the Atlantic twice, but a knockdown on the second crossing and COVID-19 put an end to my solo circumnavigation. So now, I'm building a new boat, smaller, lighter, but more suited for a solo circumnavigation. The Wave Rover 650. Well, you'll notice that the 650 has virtually no stringers, and that's by design, because stringers are nothing more than water traps. Now, where is the water coming from, you might ask? Well, it's coming from the respiration of the sailor, the cooking, and also the cleaning. And when you add all that together, it's about a liter of water, and it makes its way down to the bilge. And that's the reason I want the whole bottom of the boat encapsulated in fiberglass. If you fill a hole like this, you just fill the top surface, and that's no good. You really need to squeeze the epoxy in and fill the whole hole. Otherwise, you're going to get condensation forming inside that trapped airspace. And then after it hardens, just hit it with the sandpaper, make it nice and smooth, and then you're all ready to proceed with the next job. Well, now it's time to prep for the fiberglass by doing a great big cleanup. Clean water and a damp rag will go a long way to cleaning up all that dust that's settled over the last few weeks, and it will dry in probably 15 to 20 minutes. Now this is actually the second bucket of water, and look at the color of it. Let's roll it back up again. This one is 54 and a half, so 25, 7, call it 27 and a half. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I'll give us 55.
Then, being as delicate as possible, roll it up, because the least amount you handle it, the less fraying you will get of the glass. Then mark it and put it away in a nice clean bag that's also well identified, and you're ready to go for the big glass up the next day. Well, good morning, Rovers. We're just about ready to start the glassing procedure. So I have everything more or less set. Now, we've had the heat on inside the womb for the last 3 hours, and we're approaching a point where we have the 20 degrees that I deem necessary to put the epoxy on the glass. And the reason for that temperature is because if you try to do it cooler, the epoxy will still set up, but it won't penetrate the weave deeply like I want it to do. So it's important that we get that temperature before we proceed. Now, I also, as you've seen already, gotten everything all set up, and in fact the glass is all lined up, ready to go, so we can't make any mistakes. It's numbered because each piece of glass is a slightly different width, and they all have center lines to aid in placing the glass because of the different widths. We don't want it going askew and having to pull, you know, something that's 6 or 7 feet wide back to the center. So in all respects, we're ready. Probably about another 20 minutes for the heat to get up those last couple of degrees, and then it's going to be go, go, go. Like I said, this is an extra step. It's not in the plans, but I believe very, very firmly that if you want your plywood or wood boat to last, and by last I mean decades, then you've got to take these steps, because it's not the seawater that kills these boats, it's the fresh water. And where does that fresh water come from? It comes from condensation mainly, unless of course you have leaky hatches or what have you, then of course it's rainwater that comes in. But either way, it has a huge detrimental effect. And something I'll get into in much greater detail as we get going, sailing that is, on the voyage, you've got to use a boat. A boat that's being used is not going to suffer from any of these issues, because you get on top of it and you ventilate the space and you see problems as or before they arrive. Anyway, time to crack on. Really nice right now because the just a fresh batch of epoxy, and I'm going through it about every 20 minutes, but when you get it, it is just so liquidy and it just penetrates the weave perfectly. Very easy to do. As it gets thicker, you have to work it more, and that's never a good thing.
I see you worked yourself into a corner.
Yes, yeah. We're going to stop here. We'll do the rest tomorrow. Well, Rovers, that was about 90% of the glassing completed. How long did it take? It took about 2 hours from start to finish, not including all the prep work I did cleaning the boat yesterday and assembling some of my tools this morning. Now, I did 90% of it, like I said, and Brian was a great help because he was mixing the epoxy for me. I had set up a couple of cups, he put the hardener in, mixed it up, and that was a terrific help because the boat is spotless. I dusted it out, I vacuumed it out, and then I mopped the whole boat out with a rag. So it was clean. So I changed my shoes. I put clean shoes on when I got inside the boat to keep the area absolutely spotless because I didn't want any dust underneath the cloth. You know, you don't need it. It's not a disaster if a little bit is there, but if a lot is there, of course it is. Now, tomorrow, like I said, Mrs. Rover, give me a hand. We'll get the last two pieces in. It's an important step, although it's not in the plans to put fiberglass on the bottom. It's an important step, really. I couldn't say this enough if you really want to keep your boat around for a long, long, long time. And that's how I feel about this boat. Anyway, time to crack on. Well, Rovers, we're back for day 2. I'm going to finish up the last little forward piece of glass. Mrs. Rover is here to lend a hand and she'll be mixing it up and passing it in to me. And just like yesterday, once I get clean and remove my outdoor shoes and get inside the boat, we can't put any more dirt inside the boat. It'll just upset the fill of the glass, which is what I'm doing. I'm laying a little bit of glass up in the forepeak, and then I'm filling the rest of the glass that we put on yesterday. Anyway, a lot to do. Time to crack on. Well, the forward piece of glass is now down. Now it's just a matter of heading back aft and filling the weave as I go. Now, as some of you may ask, there is packing tape on the bottom of the ladder to keep it from sticking to the epoxy. Tiny spot right there.
Oh.
Let's see. Okay.
Okay, smile for the camera.
I think that's it. Well, it's an honor to add a new name to our benefactors bulkhead, Deanne Ledee. So what is a benefactor? Well, these folks have made a contribution of $100 US or more to the project, and their names will be affixed to a bulkhead inside Wave Rover and will be traveling with me on our circumnavigation. Now, these donations truly are much appreciated. Well, Rovers, the glassing on the floor is now complete, and it's a good job. How long did it take? Well, it took about 2 hours the first day to put down 90% of the cloth, and then it took about an hour and a half the second day to finish off that last 10%, plus give everything a second coat and work myself out of the corner, which was no small feat. So overall, let's see, that's about 4 hours more or less. Now, it also took at least a full day of prep and cleaning. So we're talking about a day and a half to do this step. Well worth it, I would say. Well, until next time, thanks for watching. Well, Mr. Speckles and I would like to take a moment to thank all the Wave Rover patrons whose pledges of support help power the Wave Rover project. Now, if you'd like to know more about Wave Rover's patron page and Benefactors Bulkhead, I have links to both those pages in the video description. Now, another way to help Wave Rover, and it doesn't cost you a dime, is by sharing our content on your social media. So now, as always, Rovers, thanks for watching. Give us one more. Brilliant.